Hi everybody, let's do Oak Hill Scenery Update 47. I'm not as far along as I would have liked to have been, but there's enough to show you that what I have been working on. First of all, I showed you the car that Chris Bell gave me, and I'll show you how I weathered it here in a minute. He also gave me this vehicle here, which is a really nice one. I don't know if it's Atlas or ever made it, but it's a really nice little vehicle. It's one of those that actually rolls, it actually has very good details, and the tractor back behind it. Tractor might be in scale, I'm not sure, but it's a more modern tractor. Back in 1980, I don't think they had tractors that big, so I probably won't be using that on the layout, but I will be using the other stuff. You can see the 3D car right ahead of it. It's a Willys station wagon. I sort of tried to make it into a Woody, with mixed success. Anyhow, but I thought it was kind of cool to do. So now I'm going to show you the some pictures of gas stations, sort of like what I was been thinking about doing for my gas station, and I'll show you what I decided to do. So here's some old gas stations. This one was in Chillicothe, Ohio. It's been torn down. This one is between Lexington and Winchester, Kentucky. It's turned into a real junk pile. I definitely didn't want to model this one. Used to be pretty cool. This is outside of Georgetown. Turned into a home now. It used to be a veterinary office a few years ago. This one, I think someone's living in it now. It's in Chillicothe, Ohio. But again, kind of run down. I didn't want to do that. And finally, this last one's the nicest one. It's in Chillicothe, and it's made into a tire store. So that was definitely a possibility, but I decided I wanted to sort of keep it as a gas station. All right, before we look at the gas station, I do want to show you these two showcase miniatures kits that I built. This is for my post office, the mail truck. It's probably too modern. I wish somebody would make like an old mail Jeep. But it's going to be in the background. You still see these things today, so I'm positive they weren't used in 1980. They weren't around. I still remember the old little mail Jeeps. I may email the guy that makes the 3D models and see if he would make a mail Jeep, because I think that would be real popular with people. And this was a tow truck. Now, my original thought was, remember I made a Sinclair gas station, so that I thought, well, I'll paint the tow truck green and white to match the Sinclair gas station. But I think that with my theme of the gas station as being like an old guy owns it, I think that I am going to go ahead and use my old truck and use the new truck in Chillicothe. So let me unzoom here a little bit so you can see gas station. Even though the color doesn't match, I think that it just matches a little bit better. So I'm going to take the camera off the tripod and, actually, let me just raise it up. Let me do that. Bear with me a second. We'll give you a bird's eye view here. All right. So I'm along Route 93, south of town. And so the gas station is still in business. Still, I need to get some tires and some junk, but it's not going to be real junky. As you can see, I've got a chain link fence with some antique cars in it. This is one of those guys that says, don't bother asking him because he's not going to sell it. He's going to fix it someday. So those are some antique cars. Now, the one here in the middle is actually covered with a tarp. And I'll sort of do a little tutorial on how I made that tarp. Now, back in 1980, they didn't have the tarps that they have now. So the tarps I remember were like canvas tarps. And, of course, when they got old, they'd have, mildew and stuff on them. So I'll do a little tutorial on how I did it, anyhow, just to show you how I made the tarp. The gas station's still in business. Old guy runs it. Like I said, I'll put tires and some other stuff around it, but it's not going to be real junky. Anyhow, and then at nighttime he locks the truck up in the gate here, locks it in there. The black car in the back, he still drives that sometimes. These other ones are pretty run down. A couple of them have flat tires. They're just something that project that he's going to do someday, maybe. So let me talk about pull that car out and show you how I sort of did the tarp on it. Okay, so you can see a little bit better view of the one that I've got done. So hope you don't think we're too fancy here, but we actually use 2-ply toilet paper, and I peel it. One of the plies has that quilting like on it, but the other one is actually sort of plain. So all I do is I just draped it over the top of the car. I wanted to have the tarp on. I've got the ceiling fan running. That's not helping me. So don't worry about getting it cut exactly the right size, because you can trim it later. And I just took some water and I just wet it down. You can see it'll just sort of conform to the shape of the car. And you can sort of tap it down a little bit if you want, and just let that dry. Let it till it's completely dry. And then, after it was dry, I took some paint, which I thought was a pretty good match for a tarp. It was a XF57 Tamiya Buff. The only reason I bought this is because Boomer says you got to have Buff in your arsenal, so I bought some Buff, and I just I brush painted it, and then for the mold or on the top of it, I just sort of stippled some dry brush, some green paint on it. So anyhow, they didn't have tarps like we have now back in 1980. They were more canvas, heavy duty tarps. So that's how you do it if you want to make a tarp. Now this won't come off, so don't do it. Think you can do it to a car and just take the tarp on and off. Actually, because these are the 3D printed cars from Brian Federoff, I could probably get it off if I really tried, but I'm afraid I'd ruin the tarp. So I just always had planned on just having that, permanently covered. Now, as you can see, since I've moved those cars out, I put static grass in, and it's like real weedy around where the cars are at. Anyhow, so again, they didn't have weed eaters in 1980 either. So you had to lop it off by hand if you wanted to. So I've got it. It's pretty weedy in there, and that's Gold Metal Models chain link fence. Yeah. So behind it, on my loading dock, I have gotten a bunch of bricks. The N-Scale Architecture makes really nice kit for a kiln, and they sell the bricks and stuff like that, the carts and all this you can get. So I've actually got some bricks on there, but that is the extent of what I've done on other than taking some Sculptamold and blending the docks in. Because I'll show you what my quandary is right now, why I haven't started on the kiln yet. Okay, so I only have 2 pictures of the kilns. Here's an end view. And they're both black and white. So I don't know what color they are. They look like they're metal, but I don't know if they were ever painted. They sort of look like silvery. And the other one is an aerial photo. So my problem with modeling, see the black squares, and I'm going to circle them in the next photo. I don't know what those are. I don't know if they're windows, if they're doors, if they're just openings. So from the aerial photo, I could just paint them black, but we're going to be a foot or 2 away. I need to know what they are in order to model them. So I've reached out to some contacts in Oak Hill. I'm trying to contact the foreman that used to work there, and as soon as I get an answer, I can start building the model. So remember the boxcar that Chris Bell gave me for the GT&I? I found this photo online. Even though it's 2014, I thought it was really cool. So I fired up the airbrush, and I took it after that car. So here's the results. I just kept hitting it with the dark rust from Mission Models until I was satisfied that it had faded the paint enough, and you could barely even read the lettering on it. Also, while I was out there, I went ahead and sort of got the DT&I engine a little bit more too, with the same rust. So that's just about it for the update. I have not started the freight station yet. I'm going to Alabama this next Sunday, and I plan to take the kit with me to work on in the hotel room. There is one more thing I need to do before we sign off. Okay, my last video I thanked everybody about the getting my 1,000th subscription, and I actually gave recognition to a few people, and the problem with doing that is, well, you can't recognize everybody, and then you're always going to forget somebody unless you have a script. So there's two people I definitely wanted to recognize. Rick from SoCal Models, great HO switching layout, but he actually shared my video with someone, and that I got like 100 subscribers in the next week or so from him doing that. So I really appreciate him doing that. If you don't subscribe to his layout, his channel, you should. It's SoCal Models. And also Mike Pfeiffer. Mike has a fabulous layout, N-scale, and not only do I enjoy watching his trains run and watch his scenery techniques, his service is first rate for Pfeiffer Hobbies. So I bought a lot of stuff from him, and he's always been very nice to deal with. So I want to make sure I give a shout out to those two. And I will have a 1,000 subscriber giveaway. I'm waiting on one more thing to come in, and then I'll make a special video about that. Until then, everybody stay safe.